Good morning. I want to tell you about a solar cooking success in Afghanistan and Pakistan. My late husband, Gordon Magney, and I were working in Afghanistan when the Soviets invaded, Christmas of 1979. The forceful methods that the Soviets used to bring about change and the resulting rise of resistance in all parts of the country produced mass exodus from all levels of society. The American school where we worked at the time closed. Not feeling like returning to the States quite yet, when our visas ran out, we drove down into neighboring Pakistan and witnessed thousands of Afghans fleeing Afghanistan and crossing the border into Pakistan. Huge refugee camps sprang up on the desert areas around the city of Peshawar. Gordon decided to stick around and see if we could possibly help. A survey indicated that one of the main problems for the newly arrived refugees was cooking fuel. Sitting in their UN-issued tents, the electricity and gas was not available. Kerosene was very expensive, and they could no longer forage the countryside for wood and brush. Could we do something with solar energy? Taking a wooden solar box we had bought in India, and with the help of engineering advice, our solar team changed the shape and the slant of the oven, opened a workshop in Peshawar, and trained refugees in its construction. The oven went through many tests and changes. For example, the top of the oven was a double glass lid, with a second mirror lid raised at the correct angle to direct the sun's rays through the double glass and into the box. The oven got so hot that the bottom glass kept breaking. This was solved by splitting the bottom glass and putting the same sealant that glued the glass to the bottom of the frame also down the center of the split. This allowed the two parts of the lower glass to expand and contract without breaking. We heard that someone wanted to give us a gift of pre-cut thermal glass. This was exciting. Even though the government of Pakistan declared imports for the use of refugees duty-free, Pakistan Customs refused. Why would glass be imported for refugees? After several years of negotiating with Karachi port authorities, the tax was finally waived. But then the demurrage for having it sit on the docks all those years was so high, we could not pay it. Gordon always said that for a rough village or camp situation, a solar oven had to be simple, strong, and hot. This green solar oven box was finally just that. Over 22,000 were bought at subsidy prices by the refugees. When the war was over, we often saw a solar oven strapped on top of a load as trucks ground through the Khyber Pass and back to Afghanistan with returning refugees. What were the reasons for the success of this solar oven? There were 5 reasons. The first, extreme need. Doing the survey revealed where the people were hurting the most. 2, locally made with appropriate technology. This solar box became an interesting assembly of discarded parts. The inside liners of the box were used aluminum printing plates from a newspaper company and painted black. Insulation came from the graveyard of ships, Karachi, where men swarm like ants tearing apart old ships. The seal for the lid's upper glass were rubber strips cut from old bicycle inner tubes and held down with metal clips, while the lid itself closed onto the box with a seal made from carpet strips stretched over rope. Latches used to tightly hold down the double glass lid during cooking came from the Afghan-Soviet War's emptied ammunition boxes. Number 3, sufficient funding. This was important for startup costs and the continuation of manufacturing. 4 cooking pots painted dull black on the outside were included with each oven, as well as an oven thermometer and oven gloves made by refugee women tailors. The 4th reason, subsidized selling. Basically, this solar box was a relief item for refugees, but because they paid something for it, it was more precious, and they would protect it and use it. The subsidy was so large it was laughable, but to the refugee it was manageable. One solar box was a hole dug into the ground, into which Serve put a liner and a double glass lid with a reflector. This was in an IDP camp in Afghanistan after the war, and it was greatly successful. Number 5, the 5th reason for success was the follow-up team. This was the most important. A team of trained Afghan refugee ladies, with one of the husbands as drivers, visited the women in the refugee camps whose husbands had bought a solar oven. They demonstrated to these women how to use and clean their ovens, taught them how to adapt their cooking to solar ovens, gave them simple recipe books, answered questions, and brought back to the workshop ovens that became damaged. One lady claimed her oven didn't work. I opened the pots every half hour, she said, and they never boiled. As the project moved more and more into Afghanistan after the war, the subsidy was gradually reduced to encourage sustainability and enable local businessmen to make them competitively. We never quite got there, as our efforts were cut short by the Taliban in 1966 and 67, when they came into control of Afghanistan. They objected to women working. Also, many of the businesses in Afghanistan interested in solar cooking closed, and their owners left the country. Serve is still in Afghanistan, but has closed its solar project, concentrating instead on community development and disability. And yet these old green Serve solar boxes are being used. However, a local businessman, who was one of the foremen in the Serve solar oven factory, has started making a parabolic dish solar cooker. He went to Pakistan and brought back machines and molds and has set up an impressive factory. He has many obstacles and struggles to get capital for his startup costs. And if he wanted me to say anything, it would be a plea for someone to donate him money so he can really get this off the ground. Now, with the possible unrest following the recent elections, solar cooking will be needed more than ever in this country near the bottom of the world's poverty scale. A dream is millions of solar cookers out on Afghanistan's 300 sunny days a year. And I wanted to share with you quickly a discovery we made in Afghanistan. There's one organization making cookits, and of course sending out American oven bags and turkey bags is expensive. I found this in the Kabul Bazaar. It's what they sell scarves in, and smaller versions sell nuts like walnuts and almonds. But this, they call it the noisy bag, Sada Dar. And it's noisy. But this is an oven bag. I tested it in cookits where some were in American turkey bags, some of the food was in this, and they both cooked, and you can use this a second time. They sell at the Kabul Bazaar for a kilo, 88 bags for about $8.